Hi, I'm Darnell with Whale Living Recipes, and this is my 30-day review of the Ninja Sizzle Pro XL Indoor Griddle and Grill. And if you've not already seen it, please be sure to see the initial review. In the initial review, I basically do everything most people who have interest in this cooker who have not already seen it is done. All the test cooking, measurements, testing of temperatures, sound, decibel testing, comparison side by side with another grill, all that is in the initial review. If you have not already seen it, please go and see it. Also, in the video description, in the first pinned comment, I will put a link to the full playlist for this cooker. This will be the 9th in that series in the playlist. But basically, full playlist of videos of different cooks and things. Here in the 30-day review is where I talk to you and give you my thoughts, impressions, a summary of how I feel about the cooker. Now, generally speaking, I really enjoy using this indoor griddle and grill. I was able to get it to do more than a typical griddle and grill is known to do. And you can see other videos where I've used it. It's like a stove top. I've used it for baking cookies. I've been able to do a lot of good things with it to basically do anything you want if you so choose. So be sure to check that other material out, but it can do more than even a griddle and grill, but it's a very good griddle and grill. It's very large and it heats very well. So I really did like working with it. There was one thing that was a bit of a downside that I'll talk about later, but generally speaking, I really do enjoy it. Now, I will say that when it comes to this style of a indoor griddle and grill, I've seen some mentions of its predecessor, and some people might even say that this one is smokeless. I will say that I don't see anything in Ninja's current marketing type of material saying that it's smokeless, and I will say to you it is definitely not smokeless. If you create the conditions for smoke, it doesn't have any facilities really other than closing the door to try and mitigate smoke, but really that's not really going to mitigate the smoke. If you have something that creates smoke, it's going to create a lot of it. That's the real bottom line. If there's anything that's going to create smoke with it, it's going to set off your smoke alarms and so on and so forth. If you're going to get this and you're going to be cooking anything that may create smoke, then you need to figure out how you want to handle that situation. I'm not going to go into details about, how to deal with that. That's a bit, outside of the frame of what I'm trying to cover here. And also, I don't want to be liable for your situation. But I'm just telling you, if you have conditions that create smoke, like you're using a smoke point oil that is too low for it, or you're cooking like some type of a meat or something that creates a lot of smoke, you're going to have smoke. And you're going to have a lot of it. Also, when it comes to it creating smoke, if you basically are cooking and after you cook, you don't clean it well, things get stuck in the grooves. And when they get stuck in those grooves, anything that gets stuck in those grooves that's not already like totally to a crisp burnt, anything in those grooves, the next time you heat it up, if you haven't cleaned it well enough, you will find out very quickly that you didn't clean it well enough, because that stuff will start to smoke. So you're going to have to make sure that you clean it very, very thoroughly, very well after use to avoid that. Something to consider with this indoor grill is that unlike an outdoor grill which has openings in the grooves, when you are cooking with this indoor grill, anything that goes down between the grooves stays there. It doesn't fall down into like fire or what have you, and you can kind of forget about it. With this, it's just falling down between the grooves, and it just stays there, and either you're going to clean it out or it's going to smoke later. So consider that. Now, one thing that I found tricky to try and use, or to cook in this grill, and I only did it once and I didn't do it anymore, was trying to cook vegetables in it, because I coated the vegetables in a light coating of oil and then spread them on the grill and basically heated them up to the recommended temperature. And basically, even though it didn't cause smoke, there was a lot of popping of the grease. And so it's like I'm trying to, move the vegetables around and grease is popping. It was very uncomfortable, having grease pop on my arm and stuff like that. So that was like a one-time thing. It kind of reminded me back in the day when I was young, you know, folks cooking on stovetops and hot grease and all of that action. And so those are memories I didn't want to continue with. And so I didn't do any more vegetable grilling in the grill here. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. You want to be careful with that. Now the noise level for this indoor grill and griddle is basically near non-existent. I mean, it doesn't really make sound because it doesn't have any like fan apparatus or anything to make sound with. I mean, you might hear like a tick now and then, you know, I guess of whatever's internally, you know, as it's getting hot and such. But it really doesn't make sound at all. And something else I wanted to talk about was the user interface. The user interface is very easy to understand, very easy to quickly figure out and make use of and get going. When you are using it, if you want to skip the preheat, after you hit start and the preheat begins, just hold in the start button again for a couple seconds, and it should, I think it's maybe 2 to 5 seconds or something like that, but it will skip the preheat if you just, you know, hit start first, starts preheating, hold it in again, and it'll skip that preheat so that you can get right to your time-based cooking if that's what you want. Although I do recommend using the preheat. Even when I didn't really need the preheat, if I was like doing toast or something, I would like just set it to 500 degrees for 1 minute and let it basically go through with the bread on there through the preheat in 1 minute of cooking after that. So it was there the full time, and for my bread that's pretty resilient and homemade, that worked out well to give it a really nice grill mark type of crisp. Also, I found that basically when you went to another cook after the first cook that you may have done on this, it remembers the temperature that you had in the previous cook. It doesn't remember the time. It always defaults back to 15 minutes, but it will bring back the temperature if you had it set to a temperature other than the default that I think it starts out at. It's like 350. Now regarding the evenness of cooks, I found that the grill and griddle plates both cooked things evenly. I'd have stuff spread out all the way across them, and everything would cook very evenly, so I was very pleased with that. Now regarding the heat level of this cooker, that's pretty interesting, because after a preheat, you do get, basically, if you're cooking at 500, you're going to get things cooked really hot. If you're cooking at a lower temperature, it's going to keep it a little bit lower. It does regulate itself very well, but I do recommend that you use the preheat. However, if you're using it for some off-script type stuff, like I was doing, like trying to use it as like a stove top, then you're going to find that it's a little cooler than like a usual stove top. I was having to cook things at a high temperature to get the water boiling, but you wouldn't have to go that high if you were using like a regular stove top. But see the rice video where I cook some rice in here, and I show you exactly how hot it's got to get to basically boil the water versus the water simmering and such like that. It's a very interesting video to check out. And after cooks, things stayed very warm. I mean, these are very big metal plates, so things stayed hot for a good while after cooks, so that was nice. Also, I like the hot display that comes up on the cooker after you're done with the cook. Even if you turn it off, it still shows hot on the display to let you know that the plate is still hot. That is something that honestly I'd like to see in all cookers, just so that you know, not to go in there trying to clean it or anything yet. Wait till it's no longer hot. I think that's a very nice feature. Now when it comes to cleaning, as I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that things are very clean, and what I was using was a soft bristle brush, and that helped me to get most everything off to avoid having any like regular smoke issues with old stuff still being on the grate. So if you don't have one, it'd be good for you to get yourself a soft bristle brush. You don't want to use anything abrasive. Use anything abrasive, these coatings are going to come off. These coatings, I'll just say that you should investigate and learn about these things yourself as far as the chemicals in them. And I personally, as some may already have seen in other videos, once the coatings fail, I don't use these things if the coating fails. You don't want to cause that by using anything abrasive. The coatings are what they are even before they fail, but after they fail, it's even more of a concern in my opinion. So I'll just say that you don't want to use anything abrasive. Use a soft bristle brush, but you've got to clean it very well, or you're going to have some smoke issues later that can be a real hassle. But I just want to show you the griddle plate. You see it's, it cleans off very easy. I was using oil on this kind of like I don't know, it's just like a general psychological thing, I think, of a habit of just putting oil down, because I never needed to use oil. It was all, everything I was putting on it was coming up with, even if I didn't put oil on it. So very non-stick there. For the grill plate, I do want to show you that inside. So this is the grill plate here, and anything that's on it is just basically whatever may have just burnt so far into the grate that I couldn't get it off with a soft bristle brush, and it's so burnt that it doesn't cause smoke. So you do, you know, cooking things really hot in it, or really just cooking a lot of meats and things, or, you know, you're going to get some stuff that's just going to stick. It's just the way it is. But generally speaking, you know, it's somewhat non-stick, but if these were just cast iron, I think it would have been much better. You know, if the folks at Ninja could hook up with the folks at a company like Lodge, where they even have a cast iron now that's kind of like, it's not just pre-seasoned, it's kind of made even to put in the dishwasher, because it's like so non-stick and I guess the way they treat it. But if they had some good cast iron plates for this thing, that would have been really nice, but really cool. And I think that would be the best way to go, instead of Ninja. And you know, they like to brag about their coating and such, but personally, go cast iron, you know, hook up with Lodge. That's just my recommendation. Now I'm going to talk about some comparisons. I'm only going to compare to a couple of things, and for anything else, you'll need to see the other videos here on the channel. I do have over 900 videos here on the channel covering well over 100 different types of countertop appliances. And so all, you know, for the most part, cookers. I don't do blenders and coffee makers and all, you know, plenty of other people to do those types of things for you. I stick mostly to countertop cooker type appliances so far. And so we'll see where the Lord leads in the future, but that's where the lane I'm in at the moment. And so lots of them here to check out, and best way to do that, if you're on like a laptop type of web browser, you can go to the Wave Oven Recipes YouTube channel, and there's a search box. You go click on videos and there's a search box, and you can search for most anything you want. That's the easiest way to find anything that I found to get what you want. Also, a lot of times I'll just put in what I'm looking for, and then at the end of it just type Wave Oven Recipes. So like if I'm looking for, you know, a Ninja Foodie type product, I might do like Ninja Foodie space Wave Oven Recipes, and it'll give me all the Wave Oven Recipe stuff mostly in the results if I'm just doing a general YouTube search. Those are the ways to find a lot of my material very easily. But for the first comparison, I want to talk about the Ninja Foodie Smart XL Grill and Griddle. And compared to that, this I prefer because it's just bigger, and so I can just cook a lot more on it. It's more like, this is more like a real grill to me than the Ninja Foodie. The Ninja Foodie has the air coming from the top. It's trying to be a jack of all trades, and it's really just burning over the tops of a lot of things. I prefer this is just more like a straight up grill, and it's got straight up griddle. And I can do a little bit of bake work with it. I can use it kind of like a stovetop too, and that's really cool. And so this I just prefer generally over that Ninja Foodie, so I like this one better. The next one that I want to compare to is the Hamilton Beach Electric Indoor Searing Grill, and definitely prefer the Ninja over that. The Ninja is far larger. The Ninja has a griddle. The Ninja to me has a much more solid, better construction than the Hamilton Beach does. I think that this Ninja, in just my opinion, probably has a better lifespan ahead of it than a Hamilton Beach would for someone who's going to use it for an ongoing basis over the years. I do just like the construction of the Ninja better. Now, my general champ of all cookers overall is still the Ninja Prestige, but that's a totally different class of cooker from this, so I'm not trying to compare those two here. Now, that is the end of the review, but I hope that it did help you as far as if you're going to make a decision to buy or not. If you see the shop icon, you're on the Wave Oven Recipes YouTube channel, and you see the shop icon, you can click that to buy. You'll pay the same price, and that very much helps the channel if you do that. And also, nothing in this video is sponsored, nothing given to me, and there are other ways to help the channel as well in the video description. Also, you can check out my blog, superwaveovenrecipes.com. Again, that's superwaveovenrecipes.com. Lots of recipes and things there. Stuff that I was doing before I even got on YouTube. There's Buy Me a Coffee link there. Also in the video description, There's my cookbook, merch, membership, donations, link to the Amazon shop where you pay the same price, help the channel, and also a buy me coffee link there too. So there's lots of ways that you can help out in that regard. Also, there are lots of free ways that you can help. You can give this video a thumbs up if you like the video. You can share the video with a friend, leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.